Hello again, Struckwop. Here I am finally with my Gotham Knights review. What the Struck is Gotham Knights, where I share my impressions of the game after finishing the main story on the regular game mode. There is a new game plus mode. I will talk about that later in this video. So after finishing the game, what I think about the story, the combat, things like that, the Bat family and the heroes, abilities and momentum, the Knighthood and what is Knighthood, Gotham City, the gameplay loop, gear, mods, crafting, optimizations and performance, and all sorts of other things and that people might want and need to know before they consider the game. So I hope you would enjoy this video, buckle up and let's go. So let's start with the story. As many of you might have already found out from trailers and from the description of the game, Batman is dead. It is up to the Bat family, which is Nightwing, Batgirl, Red Hood, and Robin, which is the Team Drake, aka Red Robin, to step up and fill the void that Batman's absence has left in regards to fighting crime in Gotham City. Harley Quinn, Mr. Freeze, Penguin, and Clayface are some of the villains involved in cases the Bat family will investigate, with three of those actually having specific cases for them. On top of that, the mysterious Court of Owls and Talia al Ghul are connected to something bigger that's brewing in Gotham's underworld. Without revealing and spoiling much, I can say this. The Gotham Knights will have to investigate, interrogate, cooperate with, and fight against all kinds of foes from various factions to uncover the truth behind what has been happening and who is pulling the strings. The ending did leave me feeling blue boat, as if pulling out right before a climax but never finishing. It felt like they cut off content to only sell it as DLC expansions later on. Some storylines and villains did not fully get closed, to say, leaving the door open to be reused for DLCs. Now let's start talking about the combat. It is one of the good pulling points of the game. Smooth and fluent animations, diverse set of abilities, especially considering all four heroes that can be comboed with regular attacks as well as an ultimate. Dodge mechanics, takedowns, melee, ranged, even silent takedowns and stealth options to those who don't want to go in guns blazing. The momentum mechanic fits well as a resource generation and spending system for the momentum abilities, and I love how it's executed. A big selling point of the game is the combat, and I only have one gripe with it. There is no jumping, so it makes players feel a bit restricted. Jumping could have added an extra layer of aerial attacks and combos that is natural to third-person ARPGs of this type. Now let's talk about the Bat family, which is those four heroes you can actually change between one and another every time you are in the bell tower, in your base of operations. So you cannot do it when you're inside Gotham City patrolling or in a mission, but you can do it from this place here. So there are four playable characters, as I mentioned: Dick Grayson, Nightwing, Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, Jason Todd, Red Hood, and Tim Drake, Robin, or Red Robin. They are the four Bat family members, and each of them has 3+1 skill trees to invest into, plus several momentum abilities. More about those in a moment. Each of them will also bring in different ways to experience the story, in the shape of slightly different dialogue during the major cutscenes, as well as character-specific cutscenes that are defining of the journey towards becoming the knight that Gotham needs. In Gotham Knights, each hero has 3 skill trees that they start with, followed by the Knighthood tree that unlocks later on after completing a certain small amount of challenges, crime fighting related challenges. There's also momentum trees, which again you do unlock as you progress the story and complete certain challenges that again you won't see those challenges unless you progress through the story. I've played on Red Hood on my first playthrough. Now I'm doing New Game Plus, and this is Barbara Gordon, Batgirl. And as you can see, I don't have everything unlocked, but on New Game Plus you start as level 30. And the level cap increases to 40, but more about that later. So each skill tree will focus on something. What I've noticed is the formula is you have 2 specific skill trees for the character that focus on a specific playstyle, and one that's more of a, let's say, the extra sprinkles on top of the build, or maybe not, let's say the extra sauce on top of the build, that kind of can be used to complement either of the trees. Then there is also the Knighthood, which is actually the extra sprinkles. But for Red Hood it was Marksman, which was the ranged, then it was Brawler, which was kind of melee, and then there was Vengeance, which could do good with either of them. Whereas for Barbar Gordon I've noticed is Justice, Grit and Oracle. And Oracle is the one that's kind of like the Vengeance, but it seems like Grit and Justice might be a better combination rather than Justice and Oracle or Grit and Oracle. So Badgar is slightly different, yet Oracle is all about the hacking and stuff like that. And overall, you just pick, you have to kind of pick two skill trees and mix and match those. And then with the spare points you have after that, focus on putting them into other things. As you level up, it's probably best to focus on getting your damage boosted first off, and then eventually getting for more survivability and for more utility. Eventually, the players reach a character-defining moment of realization called Knighthood by completing a small list of crime-fighting related tasks. This unlocks a new traversal method unique to each character that makes your lives much easier as you move from one crime scene to another. Knighthood also unlocks the fourth skill tree, where players can get additional mechanic altering or ability boosting bonuses to further complement their builds. So something to keep in mind. And actually, let's tell you a little bit more about it. Basically, you do that around between levels 4, 5, 6, 7, depending on how much you push towards it. It will tell you that you need to do certain things, and if you start pushing those events, those types of activities, you would unlock it early. If you take it slow, you might end up unlocking it late, but sooner or later you will unlock it. Gotham City is seeing a spike in all sorts of crimes, which seem to be tied to the void Batman's absence has left. All 5 regions of the city are freely explorable, and players can access the city's map to view various points of interest and ongoing events. There will be markers for various types of crimes each night you go out to explore, to patrol the city. And it's up to the players to decide which crime they want to solve during their night patrol sessions. Some of the points of interest will be linked to one of our villain cases, such as here where it says Harley Quinn, Mr. Freeze, Clayface case trial. While others would be pretty much randomly generated events, all those here on the site that you see, the premeditated crime. So that's something again to keep in mind. And they would pop up randomly every night, different ones in different places. Each of those, both the case-related and the RNG events, will have a difficulty indicator and show what rewards to expect from completing them. Very easy, hard, medium, very hard, and so on. That's the stuff you might expect. Unfortunately, right now, after completing the story, there isn't much I can show you. But it's going to be something similar to this, where it shows you the rewards and the XP in that way. So keep that in mind. There are also various collectibles, such as collecting batarangs spread around Gotham City, checking out street art murals, reading the plaques of various landmark buildings, and more that will keep even the most devoted completionists busy and also leave them frustrated. Speaking of frustration, enter time trials. Ones related to the heroes' Knighthood traversal as well as a Bat Cycle 1. Those have extremely low timers that don't scale based on the selected difficulty, and there's also no way to auto-complete them, so if you want to get them out of the way, you will have to suffer from the bad game design. Later in the game, players will also unlock fast travel points, like those here for the different parts of the town. And there's, as I mentioned, 5 regions in the town, but there's, as you can see, more than that points, 7 different fast travel points. And it will definitely further help save time when moving from point A to point B. But note, anything that involves a timer is plagued by an awful and non-scalable design where regardless of the difficulty you play on, the timer will be the same and it will be at times severely unreasonable. So be that the the ability, knighthood ability, travel related one, the bat cycle related one, or whether it's the bomb timer ones, bomb threat, or whether it's the organ trafficking ones, they are all plagued by this bad design. Now let's talk about the gameplay loop. It's actually pretty simple. Go out every night to patrol Gotham City, solve crimes, find clues that help progress your cases, get rewards such as crafting materials, mods, gear, experience, and so on as you do. When finished with everything you wanted to do for that night, go back to the bell tower and partake in other activities such as training sessions, which are actually optional, crafting gear, talking to Alfred and the other Bat family members to discuss the case files shown to us via cutscenes, as well as modify your Bat cycle visuals and costume visuals as well. In the bell tower, players can also change the character they play before going out, as I mentioned, to patrol again. Any random crime events that have not been done during one night's patrol, although, will disappear as soon as you go back to the base. Events related to the case files will remain and can be addressed when you're back to patrolling, so keep that in mind as well. It's also worth noting that while the open world events have their own difficulty attached to them, the game itself has 4 difficulties that can be changed at any time from the options. Very easy, easy, medium and hard. Medium seems like the best difficulty to get a reasonable challenge, and I wanna stress out on the reasonable part. Hard seems to be more of a try-hard mode for the masochists who want to fight bullet sponges and waste their time. We don't get any more or better rewards by playing on hard, and I like that. I don't feel the need to waste my time doing that, as it would have left a bad taste if hard gave more experience and better drops than medium. It's totally fine, for at least in my opinion, to have one such unreasonable overkill difficulty for people who want it, and I think they've implemented it in the best way possible. But they did not make it clear what changes with each difficulty. How much more HP and damage do enemies on hard have versus medium? How much HP and damage less do they have on easy and very easy versus medium? I wish we could see that. Gear, mods, and crafting. Each character will have 3 equipable pieces of equipment, 1 suit and 2 weapons. For Red Hood it was pistols and it was ammunition, rounds. And strangely enough, the pistols affect the melee because he hits with them, I guess, and the range is affected by the actual bullets and rounds you have in there. Each of those will come in various rarities: common, uncommon, rare, epic, heroic, legendary, which is white, green, blue, purple, orange, and yellow. Each of those can also come with mod slots between 0 and 3. Mods have 3 categories, which would correspond to the 3 items. And each category seems to have 3 types of mods that boost a certain type of stat. So let's go further in more detail about that. As you can see, those mods, the categories I'm mentioning is the suit melee ranged, and the types I'm mentioning is, for example, the ranged one can go either crit damage or it can go elemental effect build up. But there's ones that you get, I think, from certain special quests that actually give you crit chance and crit damage. But you get those very low early in the game, unless you don't progress Wush's Fox's stuff. And then you get those later in the game, and then maybe then they might actually be super strong later on. Early in the game, those were definitely the better choice to go for crit chance, crit damage mods rather than low level crit damage or low level elemental effect build up. This also applies to this one that gives you defense and HP. There is no defense mod, but there are HP mods. But this one gives you defense and HP. Sure, a level 8 HP mod would give you more HP than this one, but the 200 defense would really help early on. And you get another one there as well. So those mods definitely something to keep in mind. Suit mods, I've noticed only have one type actually, the one that boosts HP. while the melee and ranged have the two types, the elemental build-up and the crit damage ones, on top of the heroic specific ones. And even heroic mods of the HP type actually give you resistances too. They don't give you as much HP. You can see this one is level 27 epic, but gives you 62 HP, but this one gives you 26, but the 10% resistance to trauma. The same goes for this one. It's 31, still more than this one, although this one is white, but again, it doesn't give the resistances. So that's something to keep in mind as well. But getting those is rare, and again, it's related to quest for Wush's Fox. So fusing mods is a very nice thing to do. There are some key things that you might need to know. First of all, you can only fuse mods in batches of 4. And 4 mods are used to get the new end result, which would be 1. So, what are the rules to it? Well, 4 mods of the same rarity will guarantee a mod of the next rarity. 4 white gives you 1 green, 4 green gives you 1 blue, 4 blue gives you 1 purple. But 4 purple will not give you the next rarity. It stops at epic. You cannot get from crafting heroic or legendary mods. So even if you put 4 purple, you would still get 1 purple. Even if you put 4 orange, you still get 1 orange. If you put 4 legend, you still get 1 purple. 4 legendary still would give you 1 purple as a result. So be careful, keep that in mind. Pay attention to here when it says rarity at the top, not the bottom, the top here. Now, other rules about mods that you need to keep in mind. 4 mods of the same type, for example, 4 suit mods, will guarantee a suit mod. There is 25% chance weight, 25% weight chance. So you can for each type of mod, for each mod. So if you do, for example, 1 melee, 1 ranged, and 2 suit mods, it will have 50% chance for a suit result, 25 for melee mod, and 25 for ranged mod. Then on top of that, the specific subtype of mod, like for example crit chance, also is important. If you take 4 ranged crit chance mod, you will get 1 ranged crit chance mod as the end result. But if you add one of those elemental effect ones, there will be most likely 25% chance. It doesn't tell you that here, but I'm pretty sure that's how it is. There will be the 25% chance for the elemental build-up to happen. So far, I haven't had a case where I would use 4 crit chance mods and I'm not gonna get a crit chance mod. A crit damage, I mean, not crit chance. So keep that in mind as well. Other than that, what else could we say? You also guarantee the end result being a certain rarity, as I mentioned. And the level of the end result is also decided by the highest level of the ingredient mods. So if you have one level 30 mod and then put a bunch of level 24, 26, 27 mods, I will still get level 30 mod because I have level 30 in there. So as long as you have one high level mod, you can use your old low level mods to turn them into higher level ones. This is also something good keeping in mind. So sacrifice a bunch of low level mods and add one level higher on the maximum you can get, and get a mod that's at the maximum one you have in your inventory. And again, keep in mind, mods above epic cannot be crafted, so that should be the biggest thing to avoid wasting epic mods. But you can still mess around with RNG if you wanna change. For example, let's say I wanna change some mods of this type into mods of that type. Like this, I can just fuse them, and sure, I'll have 25% chance to get a ranged mod, but it might be a crit damage ranged mod. So sometimes it has happened. I would use those and I would put this, and then boom, I might get the crit. See, I got the crit one now. So this is something that could happen. So when using 4 of the same category, 4 ranged, and they are the same type of ranged, it will guarantee it. But If you use one elemental effect build-up and 3 HP, you can still get the crit damage. So that's a very strange mechanic that maybe many of you might not notice at first unless you experiment. One more thing worth mentioning about the gear is the crafting system. As you play through the story, do missions and all sorts of stuff, you will get blueprints. Also, leveling up seems to give you blueprints every 1 or 2 levels for new things, starting with shitty things, white gear, green gear, and eventually moving on to getting some epics and so on. By the time you level 30, you would be unlocking epics only. By the time you're actually level 20, 25, 6, 7, you would be getting epic unlocks mostly. And how does the crafting work? Well, you select the category you want and you select the blueprint you want. Each blueprint will have certain different requirements, as you can see, and there's also different rarities. Blueprints, as I mentioned, and legendary ones require end metal, which is extremely difficult and hard to get. I wish they would make it a little easier to obtain that, so you could at least try and craft some legendary stuff when you get the blueprints without feeling the need to save up. Um, Overall, something to keep in mind when crafting items, or not just with crafting, with using items, is the view details. View details gives you things such as the gear properties, such as those special passives built around me, or built improving abilities. Like this one, increases crit chance for a short duration and increases the crit damage of the next hit after using an ultimate ability. Or that one has a bonus that's technical fighter. Heals the wearer and increases base damage after using an ability. Using an ultimate ability, great increases defense until the wearer is hit. So stuff like those is definitely something that might define what you go for. But on top of that, there's also the damage and the crit chance and the crit damage you might want to pay attention to. This is 93 damage, 28 crit chance. This is 112 damage, 20 crit chance, but it also gives me crit damage. So less crit chance, more damage, more crit damage, different abilities. So you gotta decide which one you want. The same goes for the epic ones. So definitely pay attention to the crafting. Apart from legendaries, you would have no problem crafting other things as long as you do main missions and the occasional side activity here and there. Now let's quickly mention about New Game Plus. What happens at New Game Plus? Starting a New Game Plus will reset the story progression, increase the level of the enemies, keep all of your character progression, increase the level cap to 40, and yeah, that's pretty much a good reason for some of you out there to try a new hero, a playthrough with a new hero, so they can experience those character specific cinematics that only that hero will have. Only when playing that hero will you get access to certain cinematics, to certain events in the game that define what that character is about on their journey to becoming a Gotham Knight. Now, in the end, I want to talk a little bit about performance and optimization before listing the pros and cons. The game is very demanding and far from well optimized. The minimum GPU requirement for 1080p 60 FPS is NVIDIA GTX 1660 or equivalent, just to give you an idea. But even people with good cards have been reporting FPS drops, especially when there's more movements and more things happening on screen. One fine example is how, while using the bot cycle, the FPS drops by 10, 20, sometimes even 20 plus FPS. And even people with 3080 titanium cards have reported that running 1440p without ray tracing still requires them to put some settings to medium or even low to get stable FPS. The game does look beautiful even on the lowest settings when I played it with my 1066GB GPU, so keep that in mind. I guess they just didn't bother making ugly low resolution, low quality textures and models, and maybe that's why it's so bad. But that's not all of it. As I mentioned, movement affects it, so that's something to look into. And if you're bothered by bad performance, then hopefully patches will come to resolve those issues. And until then, it's gonna be a tough sell to recommend this game to people who are not fine with suffering FPS drops. I personally would take good FPS, even if it means lowering the resolution from 4K to 1440 or from 1440 to 1080p. And console players being walked to 30 FPS kind of sucks. On even on 4K, even on the lower resolutions, being walked to that. If they could switch the resolution to a lower resolution on those new generation consoles, and switch off ray tracing, I'm pretty sure that 30 FPS walk wouldn't have been needed unless there is something really wrong with the game that really gets the FPS as low as 30. That's not the ray tracing or the resolution. So whatever it is, the game really needs to solve those issues, and hopefully soon. And now the pros and cons. I will try to quickly list them without going into detail to preserve time. So beautifully crafted Gotham City and top tier character design is the first pro I want to list. Let's keep going with the pros. Solid story that draws from various types of DC source material. Fast-paced and smooth ARPG combat. Beautiful soundtrack, SFX and VFX. Decent itemization and crafting systems. 4 heroes with some build diversity. A good chunk of transmog and style options. Open world exploration and freedom, but still not enough freedom though. Top tier voice acting, the English one at least that I've listened to. Semi-linear progression of the cases. Free roam experience post-story. 2-person online co-op. New game plus. Progression is shared among heroes and there's an option to swap between them. Plus an upcoming standalone 4-man co-op mini endgame coming around the 16th of November. As for cons, the ending leaves you blue balled as if they cut off major plot lines for DLCs. Awfully disgusting design of anything that involves timers, which is trials, bump events, organ trafficking events, and so on. No ability respect? Why? I see no reason to do that stupid decision in a game that really could use some ability respecting to get people to mix and match, to experiment, to figure out the type of Gotham Knight that they want to be. No jumping, very sad about this, and I'm not the only one, believe me. It seems awkward to not have jumping, unlike Marvel Spider-Man that was much free in terms of exploring, climbing, and jumping. And people in co-op can hijack your cutscenes. A little clarification here. If a person interacts with an NPC or does the last hit of a boss or something, you would see them in your cutscene instead of you, and that's super annoying to some people. Various bugs and glitches, not too many as far as I know, but I've seen some here and there. And then one main case mission forces a Bat Psycho escape a race against a looming threat on the player. It is terrible and super frustrating to me, and I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be the only one. One way to fix it is if the racing Bat Psycho element is optional, skippable of that mission, or if it at least was made to scale with the chosen difficulty to make the threat behind you, I don't want to spoil what type of threat, looming slower, and you being able to take on more hits that slow you down and make him reach you than currently. So this pretty much sums up the pros and cons. Hopefully that's enough to give you an idea whether it is your kind of game at its current state. To get notified when I upload more content like this one or other builds and guides for Wooter and not so Wooter games, you can subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button to not miss out on notifications. As well as keep in mind there's something called memberships on YouTube, which lets you be a paying member for my channel to get access to perks such as emotes and badges made by me, as well as the option to get one-on-one tutoring for the very basics of Adobe Photoshop, Premiere and After Effects. And memberships can be cancelled at any time if you no longer want to be a member. Thanks for watching all the way until the end, Struck Web. Keep it cool until next time, and goodbye.